Hello everybody, it's Kenneth from the University Archives here with another video dipping into our collections and delving into the history of the University of Dundee. Today I'm going to be talking about a very familiar building on campus, and the building I'm going to be looking at is this one. You will probably know it as the Scrymgeour building, as it has indeed been called since 1978, but many people in Dundee still refer to it by an older name, the Training College or the College of Education, because this is what the building was originally built for. And today I'm going to be looking a little bit about the history of the building and a little bit about the history of the Training College. Now, the history of the Training College and indeed the teaching of education in Dundee is quite complicated and probably deserves to be the subject of its own video. So I'm only going to say some of the essentials in this talk today. The story really starts in 1905. It was decided to split Scotland into 4 provinces based on the 4 universities for the teaching and training of teachers in Scotland. And the St Andrews Provincial Committee decided that the obvious place for them to have a college was beside University College Dundee. And that's what happened. Now, initially, the college used another building, this building. You will know it as the OTI, the Old Technical Institute. Well, at this time, it was still Dundee Technical Institute. Dundee Technical Institute, of course, moved out in 1909 to go along to Bell Street, where they would prosper and grow, eventually becoming the University of Abertay. So after 1909, the Training College were the main occupants of the building. But the building was recognised as only a stopgap solution. It was really too small for the ambition they had and the numbers they were thinking about. So they wanted a permanent building. And in 1910, they decided they would Park Place, right beside the University College main buildings, just across Park Place from them, was the obvious place. And you can see on this early plan of the university campus, there is the Training College. And we've got this nice drawing of what it was going to be like. This probably dates from around 1911, when the design was being finalised. It was designed by T.M. Capon, the well-known Dundee architect, and you can see it's a long building with a splendid front. And next to it is another building, part of the complex, which we'll discuss more in a moment. But this picture kind of gives you an idea of one of the problems of the building, and one which was immediately picked up in criticism. Now, it's a beautiful building to look at, and this design isn't radically different from what was built. If you know the Scrymgeour building, it's not that different from what you see here. What is different is you get the impression that this is from the other side of a wide street, and you would need to be on the other side of a wide street to fully appreciate the building. Of course, Park Place isn't a wide street, it's a narrow street, and in some ways it can be seen as a back street. And there was criticism at putting this beautiful public building in such a location. However, because of its proximity to the college and because the college had a key role in education as well as the training college, it made sense to have it as close to the campus as possible. So although the design phase was going through in 1911 and work on the building had actually started before the Great War came along and work ground to a halt. And that meant it wasn't until 1920 that the partly finished building was first occupied. And it was 1921 before it was officially opened on the 7th of October 1921 by the Duchess of Atholl. Now, the building you see on the left of the college was built at the same time, and it was the demonstration school. The idea is a school where teachers could be trained and could demonstrate methods of education. And it was linked to the main college building by a bridge. It was intended to hold 400 pupils, while the main college building was thought to be able to hold 600 students who were training to become teachers. Here we see some of these early students out the back of the college in the early years of it being opened. And it prospered in Park Place. Both it and the demonstration school did really, really well. Now, an interesting incident in its history came at the start of the Second World War. On the right here, we see Robert Watson-Watt, later Sir Robert Watson-Watt, possibly one of the greatest alumni of University College Dundee. And if you don't know, he is the key man behind radar. Now, at the start of the war, contacted his alma mater and said, I'm sending my research team out of London, can I send them up to you? And University College said, okay. University College, think this would be quite a small team, were reputedly horrified with the numbers that turned up, and therefore hastily had to find a building, and it was agreed they could use part of the training college. Now, in actual fact, there were various reasons why this wasn't a good fit, and the team didn't stay that long. But one legacy was there was a lot of rewiring done, and a lot of fuses put in, and apparently for years afterwards, this made electrical maintenance in the college and later the Scrymgeour building very difficult because of the complicated setup that had been there. So it did play an interesting part, albeit briefly, in the history of the Second World War. But all good things come to an end, and by the 1970s, the college was seen as a bit of old-fashioned for the needs of modern educational training purposes. And it was decided that what was then the College of Education should move out to a new, bigger, purpose-built building, and they went to this one in Gardyne Road, where they would stay latterly as part of the Northern College until education fully merged with the university in the early 2000s. But what happened to the Scrymgeour building? Well, right beside the University of Dundee campus, the University of Dundee campus was expanding, and so it made sense they would want to take over the buildings. And here on the left, we see the building being reopened as the Scrymgeour building, named after Henry Scrymgeour, the eminent of the 16th century. And on the right, the person doing the opening was the Earl of Dundee, the head of the Scrymgeour family. And on the left, we see the Dean of Law, Walter Camba, because it was law that was going to move into the building, although there were other departments in there at various times, notably psychology. The old demonstration school, which had already been replaced by another demonstration school, which you can see on the picture on the right to the left of the demonstration school, it became part of the university as well, the old dem, becoming home to computing facilities and therefore playing a vital role. And both the old dem school and the Scrymgeour building continue to be essential parts of the university. Now, further up Park Place, this has gone. This was what replaced the demonstration school. This was a more modern building, and eventually, instead of being the demonstration school, it was just an ordinary primary school, Park Place Primary School, and it continued in operation well into the 21st century until it was closed and has now been demolished. So that's just a brief history of this interesting building, which I hope you found of some interest. We'll be back with another video soon, but in the meantime, stay safe and take care.